I mean, Georgia has to blow out LSU. Clemson has to Clemson has to – whoever wins the ACC championship game, I don't think it has to be close. I think they have to blow them out. And I think they have to win by 14 because there's no way there's going to be enough meat on the bones to pass them. I mean, if USC loses, that's one spot because we're already ahead of Oregon. If Clemson wins the ACC championship game, I think they finish probably 5 or 6. But I don't see them getting in the top 4. I mean, TCU would have to lose. USC has to lose. I think because we play in the ACC championship game, if they win, they'll automatically jump the loser of LSU, and then they jump an idle Bama. So, I mean, that puts them at 5. But I mean, they would have to have absolute fucking chaos in the championship series or in the next 2 weeks to get in the fucking playoffs. I just don't see it.
I just don't see how. I don't know. Even if Tennessee, like technically, I don't know. I just don't see how Tennessee doesn't get in. So you're gonna have
the problem is they're not going to get that 13th percentile point, and I mean that doesn't always matter because Bama got in a couple. Well, didn't they get in like 3 or 4 years ago, and they didn't
so
even play championship game?
What I don't understand is so Josh is saying Tennessee won't get in. I don't see how that's possible. I mean, I do, but I don't.
Like I said, they're idle on the championship series. I mean, that's the committee has said a couple times that championship game is like a 13th percentile point, and that is a very important thing. If you're not going to play for your championship, I mean that's important. But like they've looked like a better team all season.
The way I see it is I don't see enough good teams behind them to argue that even though there's a championship that they should be able to.
If Tennessee gets jumped, it'll be by a one-loss ACC champion. But like I said, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
we're arguing the same thing. I just think that.
We are. I would highly bet against that. Highly. If anyone wants to bet on that one, I would take Tennessee's going to make it over the ACC champion.
Well, they've never left. They've never left out a one-loss conference champ.
The only way. You said what now?
Never left out a one-loss conference champ.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe yeah. I mean, you guys know more like as far as like history and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just don't see it, especially because there hasn't been a lot of impressive teams this year. So, but
we'll see. A couple games left.
I feel like they would have to blow them out, or North Carolina or Clemson would have to look very impressive.
Well, like I said, I think
they have big flaws. They both have big flaws.
What did he say? My playoff prediction: UGA, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Clemson, North Carolina. Conference championships will prevail. Gets fishy if USC wins out, though. How does Tennessee not get in? Conference champ will get them rather than one loss. That 13th percentage point.
Yeah, I mean, I won't agree with it just because by eye test. I'm going by eye test, though. So I won't agree with it because Tennessee is – I mean, Tennessee, especially with Tennessee. I mean, I know they played Missouri. Don't get me wrong, but they're putting up a lot of points and stuff like that. All right, let's start.
You ready?
Yeah. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the College Football Weekly Matchup, Week 12. We are live on YouTube right now. We're doing, like I said last week, we're going to be doing this live from now on. So if you do join the YouTube chat, make sure you comment. We're going to post this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. YouTube will be the non-edited version. Here with Preston once again. Josh could not make it, doing some other things. And Bryson, who the hell knows Bryson? Bryson went out to eat tonight and a little ways away, and he's probably asleep right about now. No Bryson. So, well, hopefully, once stuff gets interesting here in the next couple of weeks, next week, the playoffs and stuff. Hopefully, we can all four get back on here when everything's straight. But Preston, how was your week, and how was your week of college football?
College football was great. Week was great. As you know, I went to the Clemson game on Saturday. It was awesome. It was hard to get a ticket because pretty much everything was sold out. It was the military appreciation game, and it was the first time in a very, very long time that for the military appreciation game, they weren't wearing all purple. They wore orange bottoms because they guaranteed a spot in the ACC championship game, which they had already done the week before, but they didn't get to wear the pants. And Dabo likes to wear orange breeches only when you can win a state championship, a conference championship, division championship, or a national championship game. So he wore the orange pants on Saturday and the purple jerseys, and it popped. But unfortunately, I was sitting so high up in the stadium, all I could see was little purple dots running across the field.
I bet you it was expensive though. Still, how far is the drive from you?
Little over 2 hours.
Was it at Clemson? Was it at Clemson State? Okay, yeah, that's right. I don't know why I thought it was at Louisville for a minute.
I'll tell you what though, the parking is free, and that's something I didn't realize because I was trying to find parking for the game, and everything said it was like $500. I'm like, I'm not paying $500 for parking. Like I will impound my car if I have to, and just and like Uber home. But I got there. I asked one of the state patrols. I was like, hey, where can I park at? And she said, if you go 2 miles down there, and that's when I was like 2 miles, and she laughed. She said, if you go down there, take a right at the light, park in that church parking lot. There's shuttles back and forth. I parked, walked right up to the line. There was 3 people on the bus that shuttled to the Clemson game. I missed the first 3 minutes of the game, had to walk in from the side of the campus, but shuttles were fast. Clemson has it figured out. I was very, very impressed. But let me tell you what, from now on, that's where I'm going to park. I'm not even going to mess around with parking close. I'm not paying $70 to park two feet from the stadium when I can park for free and get a shuttle ride. So,
yeah. I would totally take that shuttle ride all day long, especially if it's free. Yeah, but I also had a good week of college football. Caught a few games. We had LSU hanging on to beat Arkansas 13-10. I was at a birthday party with this going on. I had money on Arkansas plus 3.5. So, well, it was in a parlay, so I can say I didn't win anything. It wasn't a parlay.
Let me guess. Did you put Clemson in that parlay and have them being the loser?
Actually, yes. So I think that was the one.
I bet you did.
I think that was the one loss because I took Louisville. So
you really tried it again, huh? You really thought you caught lightning in a
bottle? No, I mean, I don't know. I think me personally, and we'll talk about that game in a second. I think.
And be honest, and be completely honest. When you sent me and Josh that screenshot of the parlay where you picked LSU and when you picked Notre Dame, were you more happy that they lost, or were you more happy that you won?
Oh, I was more happy I won all day long. No, seriously, I mean, I was more happy I won all day long. I care less about. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hate Notre Dame, so I mean, it really. I was rooting for both. I was rooting for both of you guys to win. So I mean,
I know you are. I know you are. You always do.
I was rooting for Notre. Well, I was rooting for Notre Dame and Clemson to lose. I was hoping it ended in a tie.
Yeah,
I mean, I really didn't care. But yeah, had LSU beat Arkansas. Any thoughts on that game? 13-10. I mean, low scoring game. LSU ended up hanging on.
Arkansas is a real tough team, real gritty. So I wasn't really surprised to see that game was such a low scoring game, and to come off of the kind of like feeling game that LSU had over Alabama. One of those circumstances where they might have been at the very high of highs to come down to the low of lows, but they held on. Real gritty win for them. Like I said last week about Ohio State and Northwestern, teams are allowed to have games like that. As long as they win, they really shouldn't be penalized too much because you have to win games no matter how you can win them. So LSU still, found a way to win that game, and that's what good teams do.
Yeah, Arkansas is not a bad team. I know they lacked the offense a little bit. They had definitely had a chance to win that game towards the end, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember correctly, It's been a little while. I think they were driving towards the end. Ended up, I can't remember they ended up turning it over or not converting on fourth down. But yeah, anyway, it was a close game. Also had Tennessee bouncing back with a win. I know it's not much of a too much of a story, but they did put up 66 points on Missouri. I mean, Missouri's been okay. They've been up and down. So, I mean, any thoughts on Tennessee? I mean, do you think this is a show for, Hendon Hooker to win the Heisman, or do you think this is, Tennessee trying to make a point?
No, I don't think that had anything to do with Hendon Hooker and the Heisman. I think that 100% had in mind where he's just trying to lay a licking on them just so that gives them an extra eye test advantage if it comes down to cutting hairs for the playoff committee to decide. And that's one of those things that they were catching a lot of heat in the media because that game wasn't a blowout in the first half and it wasn't a blowout in the third quarter. They really kind of just started throwing the ball in the fourth quarter up by 21, and everybody gave them a hard time about that. And I can see where they're coming from, but look at Tennessee's point of view. I mean, they're playing for a playoff. They're trying to do it for the first time in school history. really trying to build that franchise, that school back up and really kind of, put some life back into it, rejuvenate it. So personally, no, I don't have a problem with it. I know Clemson's done it from time to time. Alabama's done it from time to time. So it really kind of depends on what name you have across your chest if you're going to get a hard time in the media from the media when you run up the score. So like I said, they're battling for a playoff spot. So no hard feelings.
Yeah, and I didn't get to catch much of it to the end, but I noticed it was somewhat close for a little while, and then all of a sudden I saw the score. I was like, wow. Anyway, had Bama and Ole Miss. I was back and forth between I believe it was the Clemson game and this game, just because I had money on the Clemson game. But Bama hanging on to win 30-24 over Ole Miss. Any thoughts on that game? I know you were at the Clemson game.
Yeah, so I was at the game, so I didn't get to see this at all. But they did keep coming. Every time there was a media timeout on the screen, they would show the scores of all the other games that were going on. The massive screen that Clemson has over in I believe the East end zone or East or West. I can't remember what side it is. And Alabama was always on the second screen. It'd be Alabama and like 4 other games. And every time they came up, for the most part, while I was there, they were actually losing. So the fans started cheering and stuff like that. There was only 2 cheers. It was when they looked up and they saw Alabama was losing to Ole Miss. And then on the last page, it had Florida absolutely wearing out South Carolina. When every time South Carolina's score popped up, it was like 31-6 or whatever it was to finish the game. The stadium erupted almost as loud as it did when Shipley hurdled over that guy to run in the end zone. So it was really funny to see that because I could see the screen really good. But every time those scores popped up and Alabama and South Carolina were losing, there was a lot of cheers going on.
Yeah, it was a very very interesting game. Back and forth game, good game there from Alabama. They were able to bounce back and come back. I know Ole Miss, started out with early lead in the game, and I was, kind of worried for Bama. I actually took, I think it was it? I think it was a lot of points. I think Alabama, they always get respect. I want to say were they favored by double digits last week? I can't remember. I think it was. I think I had them favored.
I think they were because I think people expected them to bounce back and try to put their foot down after losing their second game of the year. I'm not 100% sure who I remember picking. Looking at the spread, I would have probably said Alabama because I would have been one of the idiots that would have expected them to win by double digits, but I'm not 100% sure.
11.5 I had on here. I think I took Bama in the show too, but when I betted it, I took Ole Miss just because I was like, Bama's not that good. So I mean, I don't know, and Ole Miss is not that bad. So that's the way I saw it. And like I said, the Clemson game screwed me. So anyway, also had UNC. Actually, I think this game. Well, no, this was different. UNC nail biter, 36-34 over Wake Forest. I know UNC's offense very explosive, not a good defense. Any thoughts on UNC, and are you scared to see them soon?
I'm not scared to see them just because I think their team is very similar to Wake Forest, and Clemson won that game earlier in the season, especially when they had no offense. They actually were able to put offense up in that game. When it comes to that game with North Carolina, Drake May is he would be my pick for a Heisman because, I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff over there with North Carolina, and there's not a lot of talent surrounding him except for on the perimeter. Got great wide receivers.
Josh Downs, yeah.
But they don't have a lot of offensive line. Their defense is not good at all. And Wake Forest started off the season really, really high. A lot of people had a lot of good expectations for them, possibly repeating as Atlantic champions and going to play for the ACC championship game for the second year in a row. That's not going to happen. But no, I'm not worried about seeing them on December 3rd, just because I think Clemson's got a defense that if they can get after, if they can make.
Well, so if Clemson's defense is not, Clemson's, who knows what will happen with Clemson's defense. What do you expect though? I mean, what do you expect? Do you expect the over/under to be just as high as the Wake Forest game, or somewhat close? I mean, do you expect it to be? I can't hear you for some reason. Okay, I hear you now.
South Carolina. If Clemson scores 30 points in the South Carolina game, if Clemson scores more than 30 points in the South Carolina game, that's about the same caliber of defense they're going to see versus North Carolina. So if they score 30 points versus South Carolina, then I would expect the defense or the over-under to be somewhere around in the 50s,
Well, I know,
high
yeah.
50s, 60s.
The thing is,
But-
I know they'll, you'll be able to score on North Carolina. The problem is, well, how much is North Carolina going to be able to score? I expect
Probably not more than 24 points, just because Clemson's got a really good defense. And let's not look at the Notre Dame game. What? Notre Dame's defense or Clemson's defense didn't give up a lot of points to Notre Dame.
Yeah,
96-yard pick six.
Yeah, but Notre Dame, what is Notre Dame? I know Notre Dame has a good tight end, but what else do they have on offense? Do they have a good explosive offense? I mean, I'm asking a question.
Running back. They have a good running back. I mean, and that's what happened. They were gashing Clemson on the
pass. I mean, we know when they faced Wake Forest. I mean, Wake Forest when they faced a passing attack, like a very good passing attack, they gave up a lot of points. Huh?
They did not.
You're breaking up.
Literally the best. Okay, and that was on the road week 3. Week 4.
I don't know. I could see it.
You have this conception in your mind that Clemson's a bad team because they play in the ACC
no.
Yes, you do, because I can understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is
Clemson's take over
20 defense.
I'll take over 24. I'll take over 24. We'll bet money on that.
I'll take under 24 and I'll win. And I'm not wrong. They could still win the game, but they're not going to score more than 24 points because Clemson's defense is going to hold them. Clemson's defense has held people in check since week 3. Okay, they started doing it versus NC State. The only time they've had a problem this entire second half of the season was with – no, the only time this entire season they've had an issue stopping the ball was with –
the North Carolina offense is better than a lot of those teams.
They're not. They've got better skill. They don't. Though actually, now that I think of it, the only thing they have an advantage on is the quarterback. And as long as Clemson can keep the ball in front of them, they're not going to get burned with that play.
Clemson can get to the quarterback too.
Maybe. Yeah, if they get to the quarterback, they're going to make him have to do something. And he's not a great runner. And yeah, he's got a good arm and he's accurate. But if you're running around and you're having to throw that ball off your back foot, you're not going to be accurate. And
I'll still say I'll take over 24. We'll bet on that. When it comes to time, we'll bet on that.
Yeah.
Come back to that. I'll take over 24.
Okay, but I challenge you to look at their entire schedule and look at it and tell me I'm wrong with saying their defense hasn't stepped up since week 3. Since then they haven't, because the 35 points that they allowed up to Notre Dame, one was a pick 6, the other one was a block punt for a touchdown, so that's 14 right there. And then Cade Klubnik threw an interception on their 9-yard line, and then that was another touchdown. They only had to go 7 yards, so I don't blame the defense on that at all.
Clemson's defense has improved.
You take away those three touchdowns right there, then it's 21-14. Clemson's in that game, only lose by 7, and they're maybe not number 10 or number 9 right there. Maybe they're still like number 7. So I stand on my team. Now, I've been a very vocal person about Clemson all season long, but it has had nothing to do with the defense. It's always had something to do with DJ and Streeter with the offensive coordinator, because that is the only issue. And the receivers honestly not going up and making plays. But besides that, Will Shipley's a dog. The offensive line has done a lot better than I expected. The cornerbacks are way better. The defense is really good. Defensive line is a dog unit. I'm not worried about Clemson putting up defensive
Where you complain, but I know you say it's week 3, but weren't you complaining about the cornerbacks against Wake Forest the whole time?
Well, yeah, because DJ does some dumb shit all the time.
No, the cornerbacks. You can.
Yeah, week 3, like I said, that's the only time in the entire season where I was concerned about him. Clemson did just lose a cornerback. I can't remember his name for the rest of the season, but he plays, but he trades off with somebody all the time. So honestly, it's not going to be the biggest deal in the world.
Let's keep it going. But the only thing I want to say is I don't know. I just feel like North Carolina passing attack. I think it will be. I mean, if it's not over 24, I think it'll be right at 24. I just think I don't see that. Yeah. I don't see it being a low scoring game. I can see Clemson winning, but I think it's going to be a high scoring game.
Yeah, when I was young, I thought I was going to be the president of the United States.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying even if Clemson's up, if Clemson gets a lead, I believe they're going to have to throw. I mean, then that's just going to make North Carolina throw the ball even more, and then it can just come into.
If Clemson gets the lead, I can guarantee you they're gonna have DJ no longer throw the ball. If Clemson gets a 10-point lead, Shipley is going to run that ball nonstop. Then they're going to bring in Cade Klubnik to run the ball.
They're going to have the ball. They're going to.
If their defense can't stop Clemson's run, they're just going to run the clock out, and they're not going to give them the opportunity to score the ball. That's why I'm telling you, if Clemson gets a lead, they're not going to allow North Carolina to have the ball for very long, because North Carolina's run offense scores very, very fast. So if they score the ball really fast, Clemson gets it, takes 6-7 minutes on the clock, and then kicks a field goal, does the same thing. They're just going to wear out the defense until it's literally just going down the field. That's
So
why I
even
say 24
say
points is a
North
lot.
Carolina, say if somehow North Carolina wins this game, you still don't think they put up over 24, even if they win this game.
I mean, at this point, if they win the game, then they have to score more than 24 points because I think 24 is where Clemson puts points up. But they're not going. I don't personally think, from what I've seen from their side of from their offense and their defense, from Clemson's offense and Clemson's defense, I don't think North Carolina can put up more than 24 points.
I think North
whoever
Carolina's
gets the 24
defense
first wins the game.
Yeah, North Carolina's
One of the
defense
worst
is god awful. I just think the offense will be able to put up some points, but we'll see. I mean, Clemson, like you said, Clemson. I know they were supposed to have a defense coming in that started out slow. Maybe they've improved a little bit. We'll see along the way. You know more about
Don't
Clemson.
Don't say maybe they have. Look at the stats. They're top 10 defense.
I mean, they still haven't played nobody though.
It's okay. They play in the ACC. I get how your SEC mind works.
They play in the ACC. No, we talked about this the other day. Your top teams they face. Your top teams they hold on, time out. Your top teams they face, like NC State. Oh, NC State's a good team. Notre Dame, they're lost.
How many times has this proven not to matter? Because Clemson literally in 2018 played the same schedule because they play in the ACC. And everybody said Alabama's going to win the national championship game. Clemson goes out there and lays a freaking butt whooping on Alabama. Lays an absolute butt whooping on Notre Dame in the first round in the Cotton Bowl.
Clemson was a lot more dominant in those games, were they not?
It doesn't matter. They still play the same team.
It's the same thing.
They play the same
bad in these games.
And they've literally done the same things over the last couple of years where people are like,
oh, they
didn't win by 75 points.
We got to get off Clemson.
You're the one on it, not me.
We'll be here all day.
Defending my team.
TCU staying undefeated against Texas. TCU able to keep it going. Do you feel like TCU is going to make the playoff here once it comes down?
If they do what they're supposed to do, they're going to make the playoffs. I don't really see them losing to Baylor and then whoever they finish at the rest of the season. And then in the Big 12 championship, I don't know if it's been determined yet if they have to rematch with Baylor or Texas. I'm not sure. But obviously, if they go undefeated, I think they're in. That win over Texas really proved that they're a real tough team. Their defense is they don't have to win in a shootout. They can actually hold teams. They went on the road in Austin and were able to really kind of strangle Texas's offense. Steve Sarkisian couldn't really figure anything out. They had one drive that was really full of explosive plays, but besides that, they really weren't too elaborate on the offensive side of the ball. TCU had them pretty much covered. I think TCU ended up winning 17-10, if I'm not mistaken. But TCU really showed me and a lot of other people that they can win balls defensively.
And I want to say the running back, I want to say Robinson, he didn't do all that much.
Yeah, Dijon Robinson. Yeah, and they held him in check. They loaded the box.
Yeah, I want to say he didn't do all that much, and that's pretty much where Texas, strives that run game. So could be wrong there. I was going to look up the stats, but let's keep it going. Player of the week, unless you want to. Well, do you want to talk anything about the Clemson game at all? I'll let you talk about the game at all. Anything you want to say about the game as far as against Louisville?
Clemson Miami game or the Clemson Louisville game?
No, I was just saying anything you want. We didn't talk about the Louisville game. I mean, anything you want to say? I just want to say it. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything bad about
Go ahead and get your jab in. Go ahead and get your jab in. I know you want to say it. Go ahead and get it in.
I didn't get to see the first half.
I
didn't get to see the first half. I did not get to see the first half. I feel like if Malik Cunningham was in the game, I feel like Louisville watching a little bit, watching the second half. I feel like Louisville had the opportunity to score, and he threw some good balls. The backup threw some good balls, but I don't know. I just felt like something was missing with that offense, and Louisville had a chance.
He played the entire first half. He got hurt on like the second to last play of the first half, and the guy was constantly under distress. He had two explosive plays. It was like a 3rd and 13 or whatever it was. He scrambled out, ran for like 30 yards. You know what they did on that drive? Punted. Yeah. They punted. That's what they did the entire time. The only time they had any chance to really move the ball and score touchdowns is when their replacement quarterback came in. So Malik Cunningham, they game planned for him, and they took him out of the equation by making him have to run and move the ball. And that's what the defense for Clemson does. They make you have to adjust. And if you cannot adjust, if you cannot throw the ball on the move, and you cannot pitch the ball to your running back, and he's not going to.
If I'm not mistaken, and I could have bad memory. If I'm not mistaken, that second half, it could have been the third or fourth quarter. They were getting inside Clemson territory. I mean, they had opportunities to score. If I'm not mistaken,
you can cross the 50. You can cross the 50, and it doesn't matter if you don't score any points. And they did that like 3 times in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's why.
You realize they scored 2 touchdowns, right? One was like a Hail Mary to finish the game. It was the last play of the game. They scored a touchdown. It was like fourth and goal. They were on like the 20-yard line. They scored a touchdown on the last play of the game. A field goal, I think, in the third quarter, and then a touchdown in the first quarter. That's all the points they scored. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying about like, oh, if Malik Cunningham had played or they moved the ball. The thing is they didn't. They didn't move the ball. They were very
I'm not saying anything bad about Clemson. I'm not saying anything.
No, I know you're not. I know you're not. I know you're playing devil's advocate, and I'm just kidding when I'm saying this. But there was no feeling.
I felt like Louisville could have covered if they could have just gotten the damn end zone towards the second half. I felt like they had opportunities and they blew.
And if Clemson had beat Notre Dame, they'd be undefeated, but they didn't. So they didn't cover.
Hold on, they didn't lose. They got their ass kicked.
Who?
Rephrase that. Clemson. They got their ass kicked.
The fucking special teams did. They definitely let Clemson down. But no, honestly, if we're going to say anything about the game,
go ahead.
To the Notre Dame game, Clemson really screwed themselves on that very first touchdown where they had the punt blocked for a touchdown. What the hell were they doing? They literally had the center lined up, and then they had 4 feet in between every player. So Notre Dame just ran through the gap. Like, I don't understand what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Then they did the same shit last week versus Louisville. Excuse me. I was like, what are we doing? Stop lining up, spreading the offensive line to both ends of the sideline, because Louisville can literally just run right through you, run to your 3-man block, and just put your hands up and hope for a stop. And they damn near almost blocked a punt. I'm not really sure where they're getting this analytical approach to the punt block, but if Clemson continues to do that, they're going to have teams take advantage of it, because all you have to do is load the box, load the line, and you'll have somebody block that punt. Just get a good start.
Gotcha. Well, let's keep it going because we need to keep going before we end this too long. Player of the week. Do you have a player of the week?
Yeah, I've got LSU's linebacker, freshman Harold Perkins. He had 6 solo tackles, 8 total tackles in general versus Arkansas. He really took over that game defensively for them, really held Arkansas's offense to check, and really kind of made them have to figure something out. And they weren't, because the score was 13-10. But it was one of those things where he had the flu apparently. He had some kind of sickness. I didn't know they were still allowing players to play sick. But, yeah, he definitely had a game for himself. Really coming out party. I think he already had one of those already early in the season, but the dude just played ball, and he definitely put his stamp of approval on that game.
Good job. You made it different. You picked a defensive player at least. I tried to do that a couple times. I'm going with the easy route. I'm going with Drake May, North Carolina against Wake Forest. Went in a tight game. He had.
Wait. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off, but doesn't he play in the ACC? How can he win your player of the week if he's playing in the ACC? He's not playing opponents. He's not playing anybody good.
Good game. I picked Clemson. Well, I have not. I probably haven't picked Clemson players this year because they haven't looked that great. Anyway, yeah, Drake May, 31 for 49, 448 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 71 yards rushing, and a rushing touchdown. Can't remember. Clemson wishes they had a quarterback that good. I know their quarterback's kind of so-so. So, yeah, I'm going with him for my player of the week. Also, I could have went with Josh Downs in North Carolina. I like the North Carolina offense. I think the offense is pretty good. Might be shut down once they actually play a real team, but, they'll get their first somewhat test, I guess, against Clemson, like Preston says. Let's keep it going. Do you have a rant or anything you want to rant about? I didn't really have nothing. I could bring it back to Popeyes. I went to Popeyes 2 days ago, or I think it was 2 days ago, and literally 11:30.
At night?
No, during the morning, in mid lunchtime, because I was trying to get something before my next class. They said I asked them for a chicken sandwich, and all their fillets were frozen. That's what they told me. And then I asked for a Coke, and all they had was sweet tea and lemonade. So, I mean, and this is a different Popeyes too. This is Wrightsboro Road. So
is that the one by Daniel Field?
Yes, and it pissed me off. Usually that one's okay, but they're all terrible. I haven't been to one in Grovetown, so it just makes me mad.
I've been to that place twice, and every time I go there, the line is literally 5 or 6 cars, and it takes you an hour to get through to the line.
Nothing beats Bella Road.
Ridiculous.
Bella Road's still the worst, but I mean, Popeyes is just.
Stop going to Popeyes, dude. Stop going to Popeyes.
It was right there. It was right there, and I was like,
dude, the school is not close to Popeyes.
Yes, it is. All I have to do is go outside. All I have to do is
drive.
It's like a 2-minute drive. All I have to do is go outside of Somerville, right outside of the Popeyes is garbage. I agree, Cole. Popeyes is garbage, but it is right by the school. It's literally you drive outside of Somerville, right outside of when I'm at Allgood Hall, and you go out that way, take a right, and you can go down to the gas station. There's what is it? The Circle K right there, and then the Popeyes is to the left. It's really not. It's really like 2-3 minutes.
I'll take your word. I think it's longer than that, though.
No, I could have went to Bojangles. Bojangles is beside Christianberry, and that's a little bit.
They need to put a Popeyes on Washington Road. Just make it easier.
Yes, but Bobby, we're doing this live, by the way, if you wonder who I'm talking to. We are live with the podcast. Bobby, when they're out of everything when you go there, they're out of lemonade, they're out of sweet tea, you can't get a damn chicken sandwich. I didn't really want chicken tenders, but I got chicken tenders. The place just opened 20 minutes ago. Anyway, let's keep it going. Preston, before we get into the game, do you have you said your Heisman front runner right now would be Drake May?
Yeah, Drake May or Hendon Hooker. I don't think Hendon Hooker is going to win the Heisman. He's looked good, but it's hard not to say he's not one of the front runners. But there's a couple quarterbacks. Just because he's had moments of vulnerability. And you're allowed to have those. If you take Drake, if you take him off of that team, and I know they don't look at it like this anymore, but I feel like if you take Hendon Hooker off that team and replace him with another quarterback, they'd still be a very explosive offense. You take Drake May off of North Carolina's offense, and I don't think they have an offense.
I agree. I like Drake May. I like him. But anyway, right now the favorite right now is what I'm looking at by odds is C.J. Stroud for Ohio State plus 100, and then you got Hendon Hooker at plus 400, Drake May at plus 500. So he's not that far behind. And then you got Blake Corum from Michigan, I believe. That's the Michigan running back, correct? And then Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams still somehow up there.
You can eliminate Caleb Williams because unless he throws
Stetson Bennett's right behind him.
Yeah, you can take Stetson Bennett out of there too. He's not winning it.
I think it's probably down to those four.
I really think you could probably just make it a 3-man race at this point. You would have to have a great thing.
Wasn't Bo Nix in the conversation for them? I guess.
Yeah, he was until they lost.
Yeah. He dropped
6th or 7th. Oh,
gotcha. Anyway, let's keep it going here. Let's get into the games here before we.
We still haven't made our picks yet.
Oh, by the way, the records. I forgot to mention the records here. Josh just sent them. Josh is not here. He'll be back next week if you are on the podcast. Josh sent them. So Josh went 5-2 overall last week. He is in first at 40-38 overall. I went 4-3. I'm in dead last for college, 32-46 overall. Bryson 3-4. He's 35-43 overall. Preston went 4-3, tied me this week. He went 36. He is 36-42 overall. All right, let's get into the game. Yes, sorry, you were in second. Yes, apologize. But yeah, Bryson's just falling off a cliff. Anyway, Saturday, 12 or at noon, number 4 TCU at Baylor. TCU favored by 2.5. Who you
got? My heart's telling me to pull for Baylor because that's what Clemson needs. But TCU, they are just a better team on both sides of the ball right now. I think they're going to get it done. I'm going to take TCU minus 2.5.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take TCU here as well. I know Oklahoma, they played Oklahoma, I think it was last week I was looking at. That's what I was looking at before I got on. I was looking at Baylor. Yeah, they played Oklahoma last week, and it was a shootout. and Baylor barely won the game. And I thought Oklahoma hasn't been that good this year, so that's why I'm taking TCU. TCU should be motivated. Baylor's probably motivated to knock them out as well at home. So I mean, it could be a very interesting game. I just see TCU being able to pull out, like you said. I believe they're the better team. Like the quarterback Duggan. Uh, yeah, TCU minus 2.5. If it was probably closer to 6 or 7, I probably would take Baylor, but I'm gonna take TCU.
Yeah,
Next game.
Baylor can score. I just don't think they're going to be able to. It's not that I think this game is going to be a shootout. I think TCU is probably going to have the same mentality that they did versus Texas, which is absolutely suffocate them on offense and make them do something. And I don't see Baylor having the mental capacity to be able to, figure that out.
Here we go. Saturday, 12 p.m. Florida at Vanderbilt. Florida favored by 14.5. Vanderbilt coming off a big win against Kentucky. Maybe they fall apart here. Whatever you're clicking with that damn pin, please stop. Thank you. Whatever you're clicking. Whatever that is. Damn it. It's loud. Are you done? Please? Thank you. Anyway, Vanderbilt coming off a big win over Kentucky. Florida absolutely dominating South Carolina. They looked pretty good the last few weeks. Florida's looked good. Tough game for me. I mean, Florida's favored by 14.5. Vanderbilt, they've kept some games close. I don't know. At Vanderbilt, I'm going to take Vanderbilt. Maybe Florida wins this game by 10-13. Probably. I don't know. Who you got?
Yeah, I think it's going to be short-lived for them. I think Florida. I mean, I don't really know how to pinpoint what I think of Florida. I mean, some weeks they look good, and then some weeks they just don't.
Look
and
better
I don't
these
understand
last
it.
few weeks.
They have, but South Carolina's a bottom of the barrel team.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not really. I don't think it's hard to beat Florida or beat South Carolina by 14.5. Then they go play Kentucky earlier in the season. They lose to Kentucky. They lose
Had a tight
to
game
Georgia.
with South Florida.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to pinpoint.
I mean, obviously
some
they
weeks
lost
they
to
look
Georgia.
good.
They almost bounced back in the third quarter, though.
Yeah, so this is. I think Florida wins the game. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to win this game. Kentucky's been dealing with a lot of injuries, and I think that's really what kept them in this game. If Florida stays on plan and stays on track, they should win this game by 20. I think they should. So I'm going to go on a limb and say Florida covers.
Yeah, that's a big limb. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be around the number. I think that's what it's going to be.
I would 100% be not surprised if Florida wins this game by 10. So I mean, I think they win this game and right there at double digits. But that 14.5, if it was 13.5,
I honestly could see it being. I could honestly see it being 14. I think it's going to be like 14, 17, or 21. I wouldn't see no more numbers. I don't know. Anyway, next game we got Saturday, 3:30. Ole Miss, number 14 at Arkansas. Ole Miss favored by 2.5. Arkansas once again playing at home. Maybe they play tough here, coming off a low scoring loss against LSU. Preston, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take Ole Miss minus 2.5. Both these teams are reeling, coming off a loss last week. Ole Miss has still got a lot to play for. They can still get a really good bowl game, a New Year's Six possibly. They could match up possibly with Clemson in the Orange Bowl if Alabama doesn't get it or if Clemson doesn't get it. They've got the Orange Bowl or the
Come on, Alabama.
Yeah, I know what it's looking like. It looks like it's going to be an Alabama-Clemson matchup in the Orange Bowl.
I hope so. It's going to be awesome.
Probably not. Probably not.
I don't know who
so I mean, I'm going to take Ole Miss. Alabama. Why are you even pretending like you would not take Alabama?
I really don't know. Alabama
Stop pretending like you don't know who you would take. You would
Alabama,
take Alabama.
Depending on what the spread is. Seriously, depending on what the spread is. If it was a high spread for Bama, I might take Clemson.
70 points, you would take Alabama.
Good. Huh?
Yes, they have. They've looked great all season. They literally lost on the road twice in overtime.
They have not looked good.
Don't say you don't know who you're going to take. In spite of me, you would just take
it. You think they've looked good? They've had a lot of close games that shouldn't have been close.
They lost to 2 teams in the SEC who were in the top 7 on the road in overtime. I don't blame them for those losses. Alabama is an exceptional team.
Yeah, even those. What was the other games? They've had some close games that are not
A&M,
Texas.
Ole
They had
Miss.
Texas A&M. I mean, Texas A&M's awful.
Yeah, but they weren't at the time though. I mean, they were at the beginning of their downward
Oh,
spiral.
come on, they suck. They were
what?
they were on the downward spiral. They were already there. Texas A&M was bad by then
Alabama started the downward spiral for
because
them.
Texas A&M just dropped down. I think they were almost unranked when they played Bama. They were already at like
They were
20.
unranked.
Yeah,
They were unranked because I think that was their
yeah,
second.
they lost like
They
two
were
games.
just coming off their second loss. Yeah, Alabama was their third loss of the season, if I'm not mistaken. But they were beginning the downward spiral because everybody was like, "Oh,
But
Texas
for
A&M
you, a
just
win's a
extends
win.
in."
A win's a win. We understand. A win's a win for you, no matter if you
Don't give me
play.
crap because
No matter if you play Harlem
when
High
Georgia
School,
barely beat Missouri, you were like, "Oh, it's Missouri." It only matters if it benefits you. That's what it seems like.
That's not what I was saying. I would say
Yes, it is. Yes,
no,
it is.
no,
Yes, it is.
Time out. I watched that game. I was saying Missouri did a great job of pressuring the quarterback, and they ran the ball well. Georgia did not play good. I mean, Georgia should that game should
But
have
a
been
win's
close.
a win. A win's a win.
I just said Missouri had a good game plan. I said Tennessee. I think
Texas
other
A&M
teams should
not.
have
Huh? Texas A&M not have a
No,
good game
because
plan
Bama's
versus
had
Alabama.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't honestly. We were playing cards during that game a lot, but I'll say I've watched other games of Bama, and they just. I mean, they've had a lot of close games that shouldn't be close. I
The
think
same benefit of the doubt that you give Georgia, you should give to other teams. I promise you,
put
open your
Bama.
eyes.
You put Bama on a higher pedestal as well. So not looking good to them is, this season.
If Georgia played Alabama right now, I think Georgia wins or Bama wins. That's what I think of it.
Really?
Teams in the country right now. There's two, and you know what? I redact that statement because I don't believe that. There's two teams in the country right now. There's two teams in the country right now that I think could but would not beat Georgia. I think could give them a run for their money, but would not win the game.
Anybody. Clemson could beat
Ohio State, and Alabama. Those are the only two teams that I think could stick with Georgia and have a chance to win the game. But I would still take Georgia over the money line.
So why wouldn't you think Tennessee could do that?
Because they didn't. Because they couldn't. We've seen the matchup. And Alabama did lose to Tennessee. I get that. And I'm giving Alabama the thing. But Alabama's got the offense and they've got the defense. Now, they've just been absolutely hosed on playing. They've shot themselves in the foot. They seem to be undisciplined. But you put that stuff, you give Nick Saban 2 to 3 weeks to get ready for a game like he would in the bowls or the playoffs or something like that, he would have that team ready to go. I would think, because we've seen it for the last 10 years, he would have that team ready to go, disciplined, have a right game plan, execution.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean, Georgia, there's games I haven't looked at. I think it would be a close game just because last year, after everything, I would probably, I would think it'd be a close game, but I don't know. I just don't. I mean, Bama definitely have a shot. I just don't think Bama.
Yeah, I mean, and if we get Georgia, Michigan like we did in the playoffs last year, we're going to get the same result. Georgia's going to just spank the crap out of Michigan. I just, like I said, I don't think there's any teams out there that can really give Georgia a run for their money. Yeah, they've had close games, but when they need to win and they need to play like their best foot, put their best foot forward, there's not a team out there that matches up with them physically, mentally, everything. They just don't.
All right. So who did we take here? What game are we on? We're on Ole Miss, Arkansas.
Yeah, we both took Ole Miss -2.5.
That's right. Yeah, I took Ole Miss as well. Remind me to write these down, or if you want to write them down, if you have a pen, I'll do that. I'll remember. Just tell me your picks after the show, so we remember. All right, next game, Saturday, 3:30, NC State at Louisville. Louisville favored by 4.5. Who you got?
I'm going to take NC State +4.5. I think NC State's they're one of those teams where for some reason they didn't fall out of the rankings, so the committee thinks something very highly of them. To have 3 losses and still be in the rankings, to be coming off of a loss also, they didn't fall out of the rankings then. Louisville, I'm not really sure where Malik Cunningham's going to be with his injury to his arm. I don't know if he's going to play this week. If not, I don't think their backup's going to be able to do anything else. The backup seems like he opens up the passing game for them, but I don't think they have enough weapons on the perimeter to really use that to their advantage. I think that's why Malik Cunningham's the starter there. And NC State, I mean, like, again, the same thing that I said about Florida. It's hard to really pinpoint them. 1 week they look good, 1 week they don't. Defensively, offensively, they haven't been able to be a coherent or a unit together on both sides of the ball. Coerced, yeah. So I'm going to take NC State plus 4.5 just because Malik Cunningham's hurt. So that's mine. I'm just it's a shot in the dark.
Pretty much the same thing for me. I'm not going to elaborate too much. That's why I'm taking NC State as well, even though I think Louisville's not bad. I don't know. I'm taking NC State, even though I haven't liked them that much this year. Next game, Saturday, 3:30, Georgia at Kentucky. Georgia favored by 22.5. Tough game for me. I'll go first, I guess, since you went first last time. Tough game. Really, honestly, I don't know. I feel like Kentucky coming off a big loss. They're playing at home. Embarrassing loss last week. I feel like Kentucky could keep this game somewhat close. 22.5 is a lot of points, but I feel like towards the second half, I believe Georgia will be able to run away with it. So I'm going to take Georgia minus 22.5. Preston, who you got?
Yeah, same thing like you said. I'm not going to elaborate too much. I think Georgia's going to probably have like a 14 to 20-point lead at halftime, put another touchdown on the board and hold them defensively, and I think they probably win this game by like 24, 25 points, right there on that line. This is a pretty big spread, and it's pretty difficult to see this because Georgia really doesn't have anything to gain from winning this game by 50. They're in the playoffs as long as they don't lose the SEC championship game by 30 points. So this is one of those things where it's like, how hard do they really play in this game? I think they cover, but
I still think if they lose by 30 points, I still think they're.
No, if you lose by 30 points, and you have a one-loss ACC champion who's in the top 7, you have TCU who wins out.
I hope
Ohio State. I think if you lose by 30 points, Michigan, Ohio State loser gets in if they, finish the rest of the season 11-1, and the other team wins the Big Ten. So you cannot lose by 30. Not that many teams sitting right there, and then you have Tennessee sitting right there on the outside looking in too. Yeah, you beat Tennessee, but you got beat by 30 points in the SEC championship game to the same team, the Tennessee Raw Dog. So it's gonna be one of those things.
Yeah. All right, Josh. I forgot to give his picks. He picked TCU the first game, Florida. Second game, Florida over Vanderbilt. He took Ole Miss over Arkansas, NC State over Louisville, and Kentucky to cover the spread against Georgia. Next game, Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. Oklahoma favored by 7.5. I'm taking Oklahoma State, even though, honestly, I haven't watched too much Oklahoma State. I always pick them just because I like them. I like their quarterback. But I think he's been hurt up and down. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I kind of like Oklahoma. 7.5 is a lot of points. Rivalry game, taking Oklahoma State. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Oklahoma State as well, plus 7.5. I'm not really sold on either of these teams because, these are teams that are tough to determine because Oklahoma got absolutely washed by Texas. Oklahoma State got absolutely washed a couple of weeks ago by TCU. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember who it was, but yeah, I mean they both had some embarrassing losses.
Oklahoma got absolutely killed by TCU right now.
Yeah, I mean they both had some really brain dead performances out there. So this is really gonna be one of those things of who wants it more, and because I think it's gonna be close, that's why only reason I'm taking Oklahoma State plus 7.5.
Exactly. Next game we got 8 p.m. We got USC number 7 USC, one loss USC I believe at number 16 UCLA. USC favored by 2.5. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with UCLA plus 2.5. Clemson needs this game. I'm not picking it because of the Clemson game, but I'm not picking it because of the Clemson one. I do think UCLA outright wins this game. I think UCLA they just lost to Arizona, and then that was just I was watching that game too because I just got home when I was exhausted because I'd been up since 5 a.m. With work and then going to the game, but they left a lot of points on the board on that game. I think they redeemed themselves with a big crosstown matchup with USC. If this game was at USC, then I would definitely take USC. But because it's in the Rose Bowl, I think that might give them a slight advantage. But neither of these teams have these massive crowds, so there's no crowd advantage for them. I don't know if it's because of the traffic out there in California or because of gas prices, but it doesn't seem like there's a massive turnout because I know last year for the Pac-12 championship game, they had to put banners up in the stands, and that's what most of these Pac-12 teams have been doing is putting banners up in the stands to fill in these massive gaps of just nobody there because that doesn't happen down here. So that's kind of my take on it because there's no atmosphere. I just think UCLA's going to have something left in the tank because they left so much on the tank and on the field the week prior. So give me UCLA plus 2.5.
Tough game for me. I didn't know who to go with. I'm going to go with what I wrote down. I'm taking UCLA as well for things you mentioned. I don't know. I mean, I like the quarterback at USC. I honestly haven't, besides the Oregon game, I haven't watched too much of UCLA really. I know Chip Kelly. I know him from Philadelphia. But I expect this to be a great game. So that's the only reason. I really don't have much to say about it, to be honest, because I haven't followed too much. I mean, of either one of these teams. USC a little bit, but UCLA no. But I don't know. I'm taking UCLA plus the points. Game of the week we got Saturday 10:30 late game. Utah, number 10 Utah at Oregon. Oregon favored by 3.5. I am going with. I wrote down. Yeah, I'm going with Utah. I mean, there's been some spots where Oregon has kind of let us down this year, and they've had some spots where they've looked good. I think this is going to be one of the spots where they don't look that good, I guess. And Utah, obviously, I like their defense going into the season. So, yeah, I'm taking and I like the quarterback, Cameron Rising, so I'm taking Utah. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Oregon minus 3.5. I think, they lost to Washington the week before or last week. And Washington's overlooked. They're a far better team than people like to give them credit for. And for that reason alone, I'm going to give Oregon the advantage in this game. I think they're going to win this game about like 8 or 9 points. I just like them in this matchup, and I think Dan Lanning's going to have his team recouped from the week before. Still got there's a chance you have like a 4-way Pac-12 champion or 4-way Pac-12 tie. Still, so every game matters, and they absolutely have to win this game. Utah has been one of those sneaky good teams where again have good games, have bad games. It's hard to determine where they're going to be at. Oregon's looked really good since week 1 after getting blown out by Georgia, and then they had a rough game last week. But like I said, Washington's a better team that people give respect. So for that reason, I'm going to take Oregon minus 3.5.
Gotcha. Top 4. We do always do a top 4 at the end of the week. Do you agree with the top 4 right now as far as playoff rankings? I mean, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, or would you have something different?
No, I mean that sounds about right. You can't have anybody other than Georgia in number 1. Ohio State, Michigan, 2 or 3. Honestly, there's an argument to say that Michigan's number 2 and Ohio State's number 3, but you're cutting hairs at this point. And TCU, the last unbeaten team for the Power 5, put them at 4. I think the Power 5, there's not going to be obviously no non-Power 5 team in the playoffs this year. I agree with the top 4. I think they did a great job with it. Obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with the top 4.
What do you think it'll be? So what do you think it's going to be as far as when it comes down to it? I mean, do you think who do you think that's not in it right now? Who do you think will get it?
Okay, so before I dive into this, are we expecting the conference championships? Georgia wins pretty good.
I would expect Georgia wins. Yes, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
I don't think it matters. It's pretty good.
It matters if they lose the game. Then I think it gets a little tricky. But like I said, if Georgia wins,
no, I'm saying Georgia wins. Yeah, Georgia wins. But I'm saying it doesn't matter what the score is if Georgia wins. Yeah.
So Georgia wins. Who are you saying? Whoever wins the matchup between Ohio State and Michigan is going to win the Big Ten. Obviously, that winner's in. The third spot is probably going to be an undefeated TCU. I think they're in. But here's the problem. I don't think you can have a loss and then win the Big 12 and get in. Because if they do, then I think because there's not going to be enough meat on their bone in the Big 12 championship game to give them that 13 percentile point. So I think if they go undefeated, they're in. So that's the first three right there. Then that fourth is a little difficult. Josh says a one-loss ACC champ gets in. I don't think so because they're still behind 2-loss LSU, 2-loss Alabama, 1-loss USC. So whoever wins the Pac-12, if USC wins the Pac-12, a 1-loss Pac-12 champion, I think they're in because they're right there. So I think they're number 4.
So you don't think they'd give it to Tennessee?
No, if USC is a 1-loss Pac-12 champion, they're in because they're playing for their conference championship. If
And
they don't,
who's it look like USC is going to play? If I'm not mistaken.
probably Oregon. I mean, I would say Oregon.
Gotcha.
But Tennessee's not playing in the SEC championship game, and that does matter. So if Clemson wins the ACC championship game, I think they finish the season at 6.
And they can't help it. That's why they need this 18. That's why they need this bigger playoff because they can't help it. They're not in the SEC championship. You know?
Well, they can't help it. They lost to Georgia, so
yeah, they lost to the best team in the country. Everyone in the top 10 would lose.
How many times has it come down to LSU and Alabama? That game in week 7.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if Tennessee plays well these last few games. Looks good. Everything's looking good. They put up a lot of points. I would not be surprised if they're like, hey, let's put in Tennessee.
Okay, so I understand that.
If USC
is a 1-loss Pac-12 champion, Ohio State wins the Big Ten, Georgia's in, Ohio State's in, TCU's undefeated Big 12 champion. USC is getting in that 4th final spot.
What's the route?
There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's how they've done it for the last 6 years or 7 years.
So if USC loses, what do you think it's Clemson, or do you think it'd be Clemson, or do you think it'd be Tennessee?
If USC loses, the Pac-12's out. Then I think you start talking about Michigan or Tennessee. Then of those 2 teams, I think those are your next 2 in. Because those are your 2 best teams that are not playing in their division or their conference championship games. Clemson doesn't get in unless Michigan absolutely gets blown out versus Ohio State or however that game goes out. Whoever loses that game loses by a lot, and Alabama and Clemson or North Carolina absolutely beats the crap out of each other, and one of those wins by 30. Like I said, if Ohio State Michigan's a close game, USC wins out and goes 11-1 in the rest of the regular season. I think if USC loses in the Pac-12 championship, then those are your 2 teams that are your next in. I don't think Clemson has a chance to get in. I really don't, because even though that's going to be a top 10 ACC matchup, I don't think they're going to have enough left.
Talking last week, they had a chance to get in. My cousin was.
Yeah, they still have a chance to get in.
No, but last week where you were talking, you sound like you had a bit more promise last week.
Yeah, but when the committee came out last night and still put Clemson behind 2-loss LSU and 2-loss Alabama, then it's pretty difficult to say that you're going to have a chance to make it because you're number 9 in the country with.
Even if they dominate North Carolina? What if they beat them by like 40 points?
Then that's what I said. If they dominate North Carolina, then a 1-loss ACC champion I think might get that spot, but you still need the Pac-12 to lose with USC losing. Ohio State absolutely has to blow out Ohio or Michigan or vice versa, and I think you're just going to have TCU not win.
Well, you don't think you would be ahead of whoever, even whatever happens between Ohio State or Michigan? You wouldn't. I mean, Michigan loses. You don't think you'd hop Michigan?
No, because I think those 2 teams are regarded as better teams than Clemson as they should be. So. It's going to be tough as long as
why not Tennessee? Why not Tennessee then?
Regarded as a better team. That's why they're ahead of Clemson.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're talking about the conference championships and stuff. Why wouldn't Tennessee? If Michigan loses, I mean.
Because what I'm saying is, as long as the Michigan game is close, and USC loses and doesn't win the Pac-12, then you're going to have a 2-loss Pac-12 champion. That's not going to look as good as an SEC loss, 2-loss champion as an LSU won it. So if Ohio State, Georgia, and TCU are the top 3 in, and Clemson doesn't blow out, then you're going to have that really close loss, Michigan and Tennessee. That's what I'm saying. Tennessee is not going to be completely out of the conversation. If they do what they're supposed to do and Ohio State or Michigan, one of those two, wins by 40, then I think Tennessee might get that 4th spot if USC doesn't win the Pac-12. What I'm saying is, if Georgia wins the SEC, they're in. Ohio State, Michigan, they win the Big Ten, they're in. TCU goes undefeated, wins the Big 12, they're in. A one-loss USC champion, I think they're in the 4th spot. I think they jump Tennessee because they're playing in that conference championship. And like I said, that does matter. We've seen teams not make the playoffs because they don't play in that conference championship game. And we've never seen a one-loss Power 5 champion not make the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. I'm about 95% sure that's the case. Because every time Clemson's ever had one loss and won the ACC, guess what? They've made the playoffs. And that's a weakened ACC. And obviously being a Clemson fan and knowing what the ACC is, it's not the powerhouse Big Ten SEC.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know who I'd rather see, USC or Clemson in there. If that
USC, I mean, they've looked like a complete team the entire season. I mean, like I said, I don't think Clemson can make the playoffs.
Who did USC lose to? USC lost to
was it Oregon?
Well, I think it was Oregon.
I think it was Oregon or somebody like that. So, like I said, the committee really kind of told us what they thought of these teams when they put Clemson at number 9, behind the two loss teams. So, like I said, the absolute chaos needs to happen for Clemson to make the playoffs. I don't think it's possible. I don't think Tennessee makes it if USC wins the Pac-12. It's one of those things. I don't think this year you have a lot of good SEC teams, but because you fit in with teams all around the country that are also pretty good and have some pretty decent resumes to them as well, I don't think this is not going to be a year that you're going to have 2 SEC, 2 Big Ten teams. I think you're going to have one representative of 4 of the 5 Power 5 conferences.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we got to go. It's lasted a little longer. We talked for a little while. So appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you check us out. YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube. This is live on YouTube, but you can check it out. You can rewatch it on YouTube. Apple Podcast and Spotify. We'll be back here next week, hopefully with Josh and Bryson. Also do the NFL show where we've done some fantasy picks. Actually, almost me and Clay did fantasy. We made a DraftKings lineup, and we actually were like a few points off, not that far off from the $1 million. I mean, we actually did a really good lineup on DraftKings last week, and we're going to do that more often this week. So if you like that, make sure you check it out. But yeah, appreciate you watching and listening. Peace. And YouTube, we're not going to be here much longer. Whoever's watching live, I always forget we're live. I was about to hit end broadcast. That was just for thing. But yeah, we're about to head out here shortly. So if you're watching it live, appreciate you watching as well. If you do see it, I know there's not many. One person's probably Bobby or whoever's watching live. So yeah, we'll be back next week.